Locked On Bulls, a member of the Locked On Podcast Network. And on today's episode, we'll be breaking down the Bulls' win over the Washington Wizards. We'll also be talking about Billy Donovan going to Vooch steadily throughout the game and DeMar DeRozan's big fourth quarter. All that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Bulls, a member of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today we have we got a dub to talk about, Pat. We got a dub.
Big dub.
The Bulls beating the Washington Wizards. I would almost say handedly. They led basically throughout the game. They sustained a 7-0 run from the Washington Wizards in the third quarter, which is something we've seen the Bulls struggle with a lot, to win this game by 13 points. Pat, how do you feel about this dub?
It's a good dub. I like how the Bulls got it. I love what they did defensively. You didn't leave anybody on an island. You got to your spots. You got over. You did everything you needed to do to secure this dub on both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? We've talked about this team as a whole. I think this is a good thing for them. I think it shows them that they can do this. You know what I'm saying? I think they've known the entire time, but I think that this shows them that they can do it. I mean, you shut Kristaps Porzingis down every time he tried to make a move anywhere he went. There was a body there in front of him, even if it was spinning off of Vooch. Guess what? I'm spinning right into Patrick Williams, which, by the way, I don't care what. Like whatever he becomes offensively, that's going to be its own thing, right? I hope he becomes the player that we think he's going to become. He's going to be one of the best defenders in the NBA. Like,
oh, for sure.
Watching people run into Patrick Williams is hilarious to me. Like, they run into him and they're like, "What did I just hit?" just
That's for sure.
how the Bulls came out defensively, got after it. I mean, holding the Washington Wizards under 100 points, which, listen, is a recipe for a win in the modern NBA. Like, if you don't win and you hold a team under 100 points, something's wrong with your team. But they end up winning this game at 107-94, won it handedly. And I mean, you saw good production from DeMar. You saw good production from DeMar in the later half. You saw good production from Vooch throughout the entire game. And I know Zach LaVine didn't get a lot of the offense going, but I love the way that he got everybody else involved. I love the way that listen, if Vooch is cooking, we're going to defer to him. Let him do what he does, man. So I think that we saw this team tonight play as a team. We saw this team tonight play together, play on a string. I don't know how many times we've said the Bulls are playing on a string in the second half of the season. I would assume none. We really haven't said that since early in the season, before everybody got injured. So it was good to see the Bulls play good basketball, good high IQ basketball, consistent basketball, and hopefully it's something that they can take it to the next game.
Absolutely. And looking at this game, one of the key things that we want to talk about before we break down the games from Vooch and DeMar in this game, like I said, Zach had he didn't score at all in the first half, came on really big in the second half that we needed, made some key points, but he realized his shot. I don't know if it was his shot not falling. I don't know if he felt an off night in his knee. It was a back-to-back. He was questionable, but he really did get everybody else involved. But the bench in this game, 28 points from the bench. We have had several games in the season where the bench has scored in single digits, failed to break double digits. 28 points from the bench in this game, 9 points from Kobe White, 4 points from Tristan Thompson, 9 points from Javonte Green, and 6 points from Patrick Williams. Outside of that, Patrick Williams also contributing 3 offensive rebounds, 10 defensive rebounds for 7 overall rebounds, and played some key defensive moments. We also saw Patrick Williams play more than 20 minutes in the first time since his return. And Billy Donovan before the game, I don't know if you got to see this quote before the game. I saw it literally right before the game was starting, that he said that he doesn't believe in like hype. I'm paraphrasing, and that Patrick Williams has to earn minutes. Well, Billy Donovan, I would say Patrick Williams heard your challenge and said, say less. He showed that he deserves those minutes tonight. What do you think about the game from Patrick Williams?
I like the game from P. Will. You know what I'm saying? Listen, we know what P. Will can do. P. Will's one of those weird players, right? Like P. Will reminds me of a. I hate to bring this name up, but remember how they looked at Otto Porter in Washington? You've got all the skills, you've got all the intangibles, you've got literally everything you need to be a great basketball player in this NBA. You just got to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
We saw P. Will take that first drive to the bucket. I thought he was going to kill somebody. Going past Daniel Gafford and was that Kispert that was guarding him? Those are two dudes that got some size and strength to them. And he put that ball in. Like, I want to see that from P. Will. And here's my thing when looking at him. I get what Billy Donovan's saying. Because, yes, while P. Will does give us something on the defensive end, there are not a ton of scores on this team. The stat sheet tonight tells you who your scorers are. Yes, you do need that depth from the bench, but the stat sheet tonight tells you exactly who your scorers are. Zach LaVine on an off night had 14. DeMar DeRozan had 32. Nikola Vucevic had 27. No one else broke 10. So Billy's looking for people to score. Billy's looking for people to be offensively aggressive. In the beginning of the season, it was a very like, well, there's nobody to take these shots. You got to deal with Kobe. You got to deal with Zach, Vooch, DeMar. There's no room for him to get these shots in. Now you're coming off of the bench right now. There's plenty of room for you to get these shots in. So I think that if he's so much more aggressive, he'll finally become that player that we look at and we're just like, good Lord, somebody save the person on the other side of that. Because y'all saw how he attacks the basket. Like when he attacks the basket, there's nothing nobody can do. It's funny to see, and it's mind-blowing to me that I watch it. I'm just like, why you don't keep doing that?
Listen, Pat putting using one or two dribbles and immediately going up. I forget. He bodied Daniel Gafford. Like they collided, and Pat did not move. Like Daniel Gafford could not stop him. And keep in mind, Daniel Gafford isn't he's not the biggest center in the world, but he's not a weak person by any stretch of the imagination.
About 220?
Exactly. Once Patrick Williams realizes his size and the fact that yes, he's not the quickest player, but at the power forward position, the mixture of the quickness he does have with that size, it's going to be dangerous for people to stop him from and you saw it on the boards tonight too. When Patrick Williams puts his body on people feel it and results happen.
Now, here's my question to you. Do you feel like P. Will is going to become one of those players that, like everybody always compares him to Kawhi? Kawhi can go get a shot. Kawhi can take the ball, bring it up the court, look you in your eye, drop a dagger in your face, and be like, all right, I'm going to go down on the other end and play defense and not smile once.
Yeah.
Do you feel like P. Will is going to be that kind of player, or does it seem like more like we saw tonight? Really, when P. Will got his opportunities to take shots and to get to the bucket, it was based on somebody getting him the ball. It was Ayo getting him the ball in a good spot. It was Zach getting him the ball in a good spot. When he came down trying to get that dunk on Porzingis, just getting the ball in a good spot, kick it over as he's coming down, he gets it blocked away. Do you feel like that's the kind of player that P. Will might end up being, and that you're going to need that top level point guard for him to be the player that he's going to be?
I think so. I get the Kawhi comparisons, and I'm not saying because his potential's through the roof. He's 20 years old. As of right now, you can't put a cap on his potential. Yeah. So I understand the people that want to use the Kawhi comparisons. I've always said I think he's going to be more Luol Deng than Kawhi Leonard. And that's not a knock. Keep in mind, Luol in his prime got you 18 and 8.
Yeah.
You feel me? Yeah. So I do think I do think having a point guard is going to unlock more of his game. I don't as of right now, I don't see Patrick Williams being the, hey, give me the ball, I'm gonna find a shot. I think Patrick Williams is gonna be the, hey, I'm gonna move around, I'm gonna set hard screens, I'm gonna come off this pick and roll, get me the ball off those things, I'm gonna make some things happen for you. And when I'm not doing those things, I'm gonna be active everywhere else. So I think that right now is how I see Patrick Williams, but that doesn't mean that could not change. And I know some people may get upset with that, but I think even if Patrick Williams just turns out to be a prime Luol Deng, you need a player like that on the team, and it allows you to be versatile in how you fill out the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, I Luol Deng's a really good comparison. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've never made that comparison, but then Luol came in like similar size, like he was 6'8" or something, like 6'7", and like. Yeah. He kept growing, and then he was like 6'10" by the end of it or something like that. Like, Luol was weird, dog. Like, that was such a weird time. I remember that. Like, he came back, and they were like, hey, man.
Because you remember It was the season. It was the season. Him and Tyrus were the same height for a while.
Yes.
And then he came back and was like, wait, what just happened here? So, yeah.
Hey, and listen, he's 20 years old. That really could be what happens to
Same thing happened to Paul George. Paul George was 6'6" when he came into the NBA.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
That's funny to see. Those stories always crack me up when I think about, like, you draft somebody thinking he's going to be this player, and then he come back the next season like, hey, man, you bought longer shoes or what's going on? I guess he's a power forward now.
Exactly. Well, next we're going to talk about the night that Nikola Vucevic had. But before we do that, we got to talk about Prize Picks. So NBA fans, are you ready for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try the award-winning app Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. I know you'll love this. So it's easy to use. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Prize Picks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. For a limited time, Prize Picks has an offer, a no-brainer offer at that, for all our users. Users get $50 free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point, but you must use the code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer for our Locked On fans. To sign up today and use the code NBA for 50 free dollars if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point. So how to play Prize Picks? You want to download that Prize Picks app and then tell them Locked On Senior, use that code NBA. All right, so that's it. Again, thank you for making Locked On your first listen of the day. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the second segment. We're gonna talk about the night that Nikola Vucevic had. We've talked about it, Pat. We've talked about it heavily. We've been frustrated about it. Billy goes to Nikola Vucevic in the first half, and then he doesn't get any shots. Nikola had 12 shots in the first quarter, had 6 more shots over the course of the game. And, while that may say, hey, why did his shots go down by half? They were double teaming him. He was getting the ball out. But what did you think about how Nikola Vucevic was used over the course of this game?
Yeah, if you look at what he did the rest of the game, it tells the story of Vooch. You have to watch the game to understand it. Vooch absolutely going off, had his season high 15 points in the first quarter, getting busy right there. And then the rest of the game, I believe he only gets, I think most of it in the second half. He got 7 points in that third quarter, I believe. So still cooking there, but only got 6 shots the rest of the way. But it's how they used him. You go to him early, and then guess what? Now I can't double team people.
Yeah.
Because I gotta stop that dude down there. Now I can't double team the rest of the team, and that, like we've seen the rest of the way, like it seems so simple, but the Bulls just refused to do it, and you saw it working so well. Now, also the caveat to everything is we're sitting here looking at Vooch in a completely different light. Vooch was passing to people, and people were knocking down shots.
That's true.
Vooch was passing the ball to people, and the bench was knocking down shots. And I feel like the Bulls have to understand that Vooch is a willing passer, right? Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I still don't feel great about the Bulls heading into the playoffs right now because we've seen them win games like this, and then they go out and they get punched in the face, and they don't know what to do. But if you play like you played tonight, and especially playing through Vooch like you played tonight, you can make a lot more noise than I believe. I'm one of them people, prove me wrong. Please, God, prove me wrong. If you prove me wrong, that means we're winning. So, like, how they played Vooch early, you get them down there. They can't do anything. Kristaps Porzingis can't stop them. Daniel Gafford can't stop them. Everybody they send Vooch's way can't stop him. Now you have to play this man straight up until the second half, now I got to send a double at him. Guess what? Now that means they can't double DeMar. Now DeMar can get going. Like DeMar, to me, even what we saw from DeMar still in this game, you didn't see him take the greatest shot selection or make the greatest decisions with it early in the game. But you saw how much the game opened up for everyone else on this team as Vooch, as they tried to double team Vooch down the stretch of the game. And by the end of it, he's standing in the middle, gets the ball. There's 2 people coming his way, and he just kicks it left. Wide open shot. Boom. Starting the offense through Vooch is the way to the Bulls' success, and I feel like it shouldn't have taken us this long to stick with it.
The big man got to eat. You got to feed the big man.
Bro.
That is literally one of the oldest staples of NBA basketball. You feed your big man, especially when you have a big man who, when he can get going, is not just one of those big men who needs the point guard to set him up. He is also a passer. So when you work from the outside in, from the inside out, it allows your offense to be much more dynamic. It allows them to have to collapse on Vooch because and one thing with Vooch, the thing that I love seeing him, and yes, Kristaps is not the biggest center. He's not the strongest, but he went at Kristaps. And when that happened, it opened up easier shots for DeMar in the mid-range. It opened up easier shots for Zach when he did get going late in that game. And that's the type of thing that can make this offense so much more dynamic than what we've seen the last 10 games or so. And it was good to see that it happened in the first half, but it felt even better to see that they went to it again in the second half, because that's not what's been happening. So all that happening in this game, this was basketball made easy. And yes, it was against the opponent of the Washington Wizards. We understand that, but at least this is a blueprint of what you need to try to do against every team, because it's going to make basketball so much easier for everybody else.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, right? Like, even the assist numbers for Vooch are crazy, 4 assists. Yeah. But like you said, it makes life so much easier for everybody else. All of a sudden, the team can move the ball again. like Vooch kicking it to the corner turns into 3 more passes that find Vooch down low, and then him kicking it back out, and turn into 2 more passes that finds an open shot on the perimeter. Yeah. Like, we're struggling with point guard play because Ayo Dosunmu essentially hit his rookie wall and went through some struggles there, but we didn't go to the best passer that's left on the team. That's not the way to success. And now here's the biggest question. I mean, it's a great game. Let's take this game for what it is. Is this something that you think that the Bulls will stick with?
I would hope so. I really would hope so. I think that as they're looking for something to get some pep in their step, we got 6 games left this season, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, when you look at the opponents that the Bulls have left on their schedule, we got the Clippers coming up. Then we got Miami. You want Vooch going against Miami, right? You want Bam to have to stay on Nikola Vucevic with every single thing that he does, because if Bam can roam and get some more shot blocks on penetrating guards, it's going to be a very difficult night for you. Milwaukee, you want Vooch going against Milwaukee. Boston, Time Lord's out. You want Vooch going against Boston. Yeah. Charlotte, same thing. Minnesota, same. So yes, I hope that this is something that they try to build off on to use in the remaining part of the schedule, because looking at the teams that we have on the docket, that's how you want to play to beat those teams.
Yeah. It's wild too, because you look at it and it's like, yo, like, you get killed in points in the paint every game. How do you get more points in the paint? I don't know. Send a big dude down there with them that can score all the points in the paint for us. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy to say, but tonight is the first time in a long time we've seen the Bulls play fundamental basketball, to the point where you made them work so hard on one end of the floor that they couldn't do anything on the other end of the floor. And that's what you have to do. Like you said, you've got big men matchups coming up. Guess what? If we're going down against who are the Clippers going to have? Robert Covington and probably Markieff Morris. I don't know. Or whichever Moore's brother it is down there. Yeah. You know how you make life hard for him on the other end? You make him work like a mug on the defensive end. You know how you make life hard for these mugs? Can sit Bam out of buy all of the mugs. Like, if they have to focus on guarding you and slowing you down, now they're going to put more people on you, which is going to open up more things for the rest of your team offensively. And on the defense, when they get to the offensive end, they're exhausted because they just had to try and figure out how to keep a 250-pound dude from making a spin move and put a float up over the top of. Like, it sounds crazy, but it's like the simplest of simple basketball. And I just hope the Bulls can keep it up, dog. That's really what I like. It's sad to say, but I really just hope the Bulls can keep it.
The fundamentals, brother. The fundamentals. That's what we're hoping for right now. The fundamentals of basketball.
Can y'all play Pee-wee level basketball. Like, just give me that. Like, I'm just playing. I don't want to disrespect him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But hey, listen, I'll say this. We still trading Vooch. I know everybody trade Vooch trade. We still trade. Don't worry about that. Hey, man, before we get into this final segment where we break down the impact that DeMar DeRozan had on the game, we got to tell y'all about Built Bar, man. Built Bar. There is finally that time that we've reached where the New Year's resolution is normally like, I'm gonna throw this up out the window, man. I just want a cheeseburger right now. Let me tell you right now, I'm sticking to my resolution this year to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like I'm not really doing a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Me and Haize have told y'all got to get in on the puffs. If you ain't tried the puffs yet, you're missing out. It's Built Bar's best tasting bars. The puffs are the first ever protein infused, hold up, wait for it, marshmallow. They're fluffy. They're like a marshmallow. They're not just a protein bar. They are a treat, and they are 100% covered in real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors. Y'all seen that tongue twister right there. Yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. The banana cream pie is so good. They're going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Like I said, and think about it. When you talk about a candy bar, right? You can get a candy bar, 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, dozen net carbs. You know what I'm saying? And then you come out of it and you're like, man, I'm still hungry. That didn't do nothing but make me more hungry. You know what Built Bars has right now? 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein, and it will leave you feeling right. So here's the offer at Built Bar. They are all about making it taste good, and then they figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. The offer on the table. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order at built.com.
All right, we got to talk about the game that DeMar DeRozan had, but before we do that, bro, just as a basketball thing, we can't talk about all the good. That block that Ish had on DeMar DeRozan was a thing of beauty, and I understand this is a Bulls channel and a Bulls focused podcast, but I love the game of basketball. That was a great play, and that really picked up Ish's momentum. But we're not going to talk about Ish's momentum because we don't care about Ish's momentum. But DeMar DeRozan,
my guy, I've been following Ish Smith since he was young out here.
Hey man,
he balling, brother.
Yeah, for sure. DeMar, not a good second half. I mean, first half at all. Let's just be clear. He put some points on the board, but he was shooting at a terrible efficiency. He came back in that second half, and not only did he score the ball better, he moved the ball better when he did not have a shot. This is, again, as you see, you presented the question to me about Vooch. I'm presenting the question to you about DeMar DeRozan. Is this something that we can hope that we see from DeMar DeRozan to finish out the season?
This is normal for DeMar. It was in a loss last night, but DeMar had 39 last night.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? This is normal DeMar. So yeah, this is something we can finish out the season with. For me, it's about, is he picking the best spots? I love DeMar. I love that DeMar's here. I'm glad that he's here. In that first half, picked horrible spots. You know why Ish Smith blocked his shot? Because he had his back to the basket. He waved everybody off, went on turnaround thinking he had the smaller man, and then went to try and pump fake him, and Ish Smith didn't jump. And then when he did jump, he timed it up perfectly to get that block because you're trying to force it. The biggest thing that the Bulls can do here is not force it. And I think DeMar DeRozan finally started to realize that kind of in that second quarter when Vooch really started to cook. And I'll say this, credit to Billy Donovan. I don't know if we've given Billy enough credit for this game. You know, we definitely smoked him on some other games. But for this game, I think Billy's legitimately telling them what to do now. I think he's taken away a little bit of that freedom because you saw a specific change in DeMar's game where he was just jacking them. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like, go out there and play pick and roll. Go out there and get the ball over there and make your life easier. And when DeMar's life becomes easier, DeMar is one of the most efficient scorers in the NBA.
This is true.
He is a dog getting to the bucket, but sometimes that mentality needs to be pulled back a little bit. Put it on a leash real quick because you can make your life so much easier. And I think that's what we saw from DeMar in the second half. Why does DeMar start cooking? Because now everybody's focused on the big dude down low. Now they can only single cover you. I wish I would single cover DeMar DeRozan.
Easy money every single time.
It's a bucket.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, do you feel like the second half of this game, now granted the right half of the game to have it, but makes up for the inefficiencies we saw in the first half. And let's be real, the inefficiencies we've seen from DeMar time and time again this season that still lead into 20 and 30-point games sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that the second half more than made up for it. The fact that I believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at the end of the first half, DeMar had a negative plus minus of -6, even though the Bulls were up considerably.
Yeah.
He ended this game with a positive plus minus of +10. That lets you know that not only was he scoring more efficiently, he was playing smarter basketball.
Absolutely.
And that's not to say DeMar is a very intelligent basketball player. There's no way that anybody who operates mainly in the mid-range in the way that DeMar DeRozan does, that you can take away from their basketball IQ.
Yeah.
And especially what he learned about the game slowing down to him while he was there in San Antonio. We saw the benefits of that again in this game. But I think that it's also something to be said about the fact that it came with the fact that Nikola Vucevic had the game in which if we ever get a consistent stretch in which Nikola, Zach, and DeMar are all they don't all have to score over 20 points, but they're all playing efficiently and intelligently. Listen, and the defense to pair with that, this team is going to be dangerous to beat. We just need to see that happen in actual games and not just in practice.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think the interesting thing is, like, you saw that Washington didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, their defense is normally like one of the better defenses in the NBA. They're just not a very good. They've dealt with a ton of injuries on that team. They've had a ton of turnover on that team. Like they've gone through a lot this season that's kind of out of their control.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually have a pretty good defensive scheme and a pretty good defensive setup if you look at how Washington comes out in most games. And they had no idea who to guard, who to stop, who they can hold on to. And the biggest difference is, honestly, it's like you mentioned earlier. First off, 28 points off of the bench for the Bulls. And when you started to bog down DeMar a little bit, when you started to bog down Vooch a little bit, all of a sudden now these guys who need to be the leaders of it, DeMar, Zach, Vooch, these are the guys that need to get this bench squad going when they're on the floor with them. Are finding these guys. You're finding Javonte Green. You're finding Kobe White. You're finding P. Will cutting across the bench. Like, now you're making it harder on defenses to guard you. And so I really love really that fourth quarter in the very beginning where DeMar starts to cook and they kind of start to like, okay, we're going to start doubling DeMar because he's cooking now. And then you see DeMar come through middle, pump fake, double team comes, he whips it down to Vooch. Vooch gets an easy bucket out of it. Like, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, crap, we still got to guard that dude. That's how you make things hard for these teams.
I'm gonna get us a Stacey King sound clip on here because it's an easy game. That's to quote Stacey King. It's an easy game.
Yeah.
Like, those are the fundamentals, but you're absolutely right. Like, when you see a team over the course of a game have to have stretches where they double team Vooch, have to have stretches where they double team DeMar, and both of those players are intelligent and make the passes that we saw in this game.
Yeah.
It's hard to stop a team like that. And the shots, of course, have to be falling. But yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to. DeMar had a great game for the Chicago Bulls tonight. Like, the second half was just it was masterful in the way that DeMar did, and Zach LaVine too, to a lesser degree. I don't think we talked about Zach LaVine enough. I know he was only 4 for 10 from this game. I know we did talk about the fact that he did pass the ball off when he needed to, but those 14 points that he scored all in the second half were all timely. They all helped either change the momentum or maintain the momentum.
Yeah.
If you talking about Zach picking his spots, he did so very well in this game. Very well.
Got to give some flowers to Al DeSumo too, because I'm not going to lie to you. In that first half, DeMar was irritating my soul because he was like 2 for 14 in the first quarter. And it was Al DeSumo that was like, let's run pick and roll.
That's true.
I don't know if he said it. I don't know if Billy told him, but it hasn't mattered before. You saw Al DeSumo come out there and be like, Vooch, come, screen, ball, bucket. What are we doing? Because remember, they started to go away from him early.
Yeah, that's
remember,
true.
there was that stretch where I think it was about a 2-minute stretch. They went on a 7-0 run and watched it. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? He's got 9 points. We have 9 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I got to credit I got to credit this team for getting the dub tonight. Let's keep it going, please. I'm getting sick of coming in here on the next night and just being like, I'm sick of this.
Which is very possible. Also,
yeah.
one thing that we do need to mark, because we talk about it very openly all the time. The Bulls did not let a role player go off on them tonight. Who are you giving? Chris Burt was 3 for 10 with 10 points. Porzingis isn't a role player. Denny, I mean, I like Denny's
Hachimura's a role player.
You think you got Hachimura as a role
player?
player?
Hachimura's a role player.
Okay. All right.
Hey, listen. His last game, he 23 minutes, 6, 4, and 2. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna run through it. He's a nice player. I think he's a nice developing player. I really think Washington has a nice up and coming team.
Oh, for sure.
I think he's gonna be a actual piece on it that people are gonna look at. We're gonna know Hachimura's name. But right now, Hachimura a role player. But here's the difference: a role player can beat you when you do enough defensively to make Kristaps Porzingis' life a living hell.
Which they did. 6 for 14 for 14. 14 shots to get 14 points is not a good night.
He didn't know what to do, bro. I'm telling you. He turned into Pete Will one time. He was like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, man. Shout out to this Bulls team. I'm glad that our Bulls were able to come up with a win. I'm glad that we were able to give you guys a live stream like this today. Pat, you know what to do, man. If you don't have any other thoughts, give me your social media, man. Let's go ahead and hit the road.
Hey, man, follow me on Twitter at Pat the Designer, PATTHEDESIGNER. Yes, I did go to public school, but they taught us how to spell. They didn't teach us how to speak. Clearly, as y'all can see, don't worry about it. It's late, your mama. Anyway, go ahead, man.
You can follow me at CEO Haize, at CEO Haize. You can follow us collectively at Locked On Bulls on every social media platform that Locked On Bulls is on. But that's it. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. And on our next episode, we'll be previewing and teasing the Bulls game against the Los Angeles Clippers and whatever Bulls news may pop up between that. Now, make your second listen of the day Locked On NBA, where you have the Locked On experts covering the biggest stories from around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. But that is it for Pat the Designer. I'm Haize, and we out. We love you guys. Peace, y'all.
Gotta stay safe, Chicago. Peace.